South Korean media has become a global phenomenon with its music and television, and most recently, film. Its modernity may be young, but South Korea has been successful in cultural diffusion, breaking many national borders and language barriers. However, representation of the LGBTQ plus community is something that Korean modern media is greatly lacking in because of its strict history and laws of the subject. Due to the stigma created within Korea, celebrities are either forced to come out or stay silent about a huge part of their life. And the LGBTQ plus community is still not accepted, celebrity or not. Korean media is changing for the better, but has there been enough growth as a society where tolerance and acceptance become the new norm? The media system that South Korea portrays the LGBTQ plus group should be addressed for reformation, to welcome a more accepted and inclusive environment for those who identify in LGBTQ plus in South Korea. The following points will further support the scope of this argument.
Joseon dynasty of Korea, there were expectations of both men and women. Men were designated outside of the social sphere. Women were designated to be inside of the social sphere. And women were expected to cover themselves whenever they went out into public. A few exceptions to this would be the Mudang, which were female shamans, and the Gisang, who were educated courtesans and dancers. They were not expected to cover themselves whenever they went outside. However, every other woman was expected to. With modern societal values, there were redefinition of gender roles, the emergence of the new woman. Women were going out and working in the public sphere now. They were becoming part of the workforce. There was the emergence of free love, and then there was the introduction of the soft masculinity versus hard masculinity, which is like military versus idol, the rough military man versus like the soft K-drama-like man. The ideals shifted to favor whoever. There was a large emphasis on the nuclear family structure due to the Family Marriage Act that was passed in 2004. Due to the decline in fertility rates, rapidly aging society, and rising divorce rates, it created fear around Korean families as well as a national crisis about South Korea's population as a whole. This leads to more of the union and marriage between a man and a woman, and having children more becoming a national duty rather than a personal choice. And this type of nuclear family is considered the normal. Any other form of union is considered inappropriate.
The Healthy Family Act was passed in 2004 in result of the declining fertility rates, rising divorce rates, and aging rates in South Korea. This act was mainly passed for two reasons. 1. To compensate for the abolition of the former family head system called Hojuje, which supported patrilineal succession of family and family register. The system restricted legal rights of women and was abolished in 2003. The second reason was to make heterosexual union, marriage, and having children no longer a personal choice but a national duty. And so what does this act do for the LGBT community? It denies their identities and rejects homosexuality, as having a heterosexual relationship and having babies was strictly encouraged by the government. I have briefly just talked about Hojuje, or the Korean family headship system, and now would like to dive further into the family headship system. Although this system has been abolished, it was a core system to legally identify gendered kunmin, also known as the national subjects of Korea. The gendered kunmin is to be classified as only father or mother, wife or husband, and daughter or son, which then reinforces the compulsory gender roles within the family. To be of gender nonconformity, an LGBT person may jeopardize their legal identification, causing a threat to the heteronormative family according to the Hojuje system. The Military Criminal Law Article 92-6 is a law that specifically targets and punishes homosexuality among soldiers. Servicemen can be punished for up to 2 years in prison regardless of consent or where they had sex. This law violates the rights of LGBT soldiers, violating fundamental rights and discriminating against service members based on their sexual orientation. Involving punishment is arbitrary and violates the right to liberty and security. This creates an arbitrary barrier to service in the military and a volatile justification for dismissal, which violates the right to work. On top of all of these violations to personal rights, Article 92-6 criminalizes adult same-sex behavior and is a violation of the right to privacy under international law.
The first gay and lesbian organization emerged in South Korea within a social context of contested value of love, sex, and marriage, as well as family. Several as the first lesbian group in South Korea was established in 1992 by Tony. Within few weeks, the group broke up due to the conflicts between the gay men and lesbians. The first anti-discrimination bill was introduced in 2007 by President Roh Moo-hyun as one of his election promises, had been intended to strengthen the National Rights Commission Act, which barred discrimination on the basis of most categories, including sexual orientation, by requiring the president and other levels of government to develop plans to eliminate discrimination. Instead, in response to pressure from conservative Christian groups and the Korean business community, sexual orientation along with 6 other items, including military status, nationality, language, ideology, family type, criminal record, and educational background, were excluded from the reverse bill and protection against discrimination.
Because of the rules and regulations that have carried over to this day, Korea's modern media representation is still lacking. We really only have one out gay idol, and he's self-proclaimed. He may not be as popular within Korea as he is overseas, but his message is just as important. Holland may not be seen as a typical K-pop idol. He isn't under a main Korean entertainment company, and he doesn't promote on Korean music shows. No company was willing to work with an openly gay artist. In a teen Vogue interview with the artist, Elizabeth DeLuna writes that he is still coming to terms with his newfound role model position for the LGBTQ+ youth, but understands the importance of showing his support, as he didn't have anyone to look up to as an adult. Within television, a type of drama that is more popular these days is something called boys' love, or BL for short. First seen in Japanese media of manga and anime, these works depict love between men for a female audience. Many actors who play these characters are not gay themselves and make it clear that it is just the character they are playing. A recent example is Ho Hyun-jun, who recently on an Instagram live commented that he is not gay, that it's just the character. His first acting role is a BL drama called Color Rush. BL isn't commonly accepted as a good form of LGBT representation because it is separate from the heteronormative dramas, given the label of BL. Dramas can still have a main gay couple and not be labeled BL, but this isn't as popular due to leftover homophobia. This kind of thinking has also bled into the idol community. That is why ships have become so uncomfortable for idols, because it is still shameful to be in any relationship outside of the norm. Idols are under contract for skinship, a type of queerbaiting where 2 idols are close and enforce, quote, ships created by fans. It's a kind of marketing technique to keep certain fans engaged in the hopes that they continue to support their idols monetarily. Many boy group idols are afraid that their closeness with another member will be seen as gay and as a result will pull away and show less skinship. The country today is still extremely conservative when it comes to LGBTQ+ issues. Slowly but surely, Holland sees the growth, that pride parades are getting bigger little by little. The country may have many miles to go in terms of tolerance and acceptance, but it is inching towards the right direction.